The American Le Mans Series returned to the circuits of the United States after 2 rounds in Canada, and starting from pole at Laguna Seca was the #1 Audi of Emanuele Pirro and Frank Biela, with teammates Christensen and Campello behind, followed by the 2 Cadillac prototypes. It was not a good weekend for the Corvettes. After struggling for pace in qualifying, the race was a disaster, with the #3 car retiring in a blaze of fire at the corkscrew. And then the team's fortunes took another tumble when the #4 car came to a halt at the side of the track. The pro-drive Ferrari 550 Maranello took the GTS pole, and Thomas Enger and Peter Cox put in a superb drive, chased hard by the Conrad Saleen. The GT class was not without its drama either. Mixed fortunes for the Alex Job team. Firstly, the bad news when the 22 car came to be a spectator, but triumph again for the 23 car on its way to another class win. Claudia Hurtgen again joined the Nighthawk team to spearhead the battle for the 675 class in the 11 car. The Paynos team were scratching their heads again, trying to find the pace and feeling the pressure. But the red and silver Audi kept control of the race to take the checkered flag and record their second win of the season, with Herbert and Johansson second. 4th place in the race for Christensen and Campello reduced their championship lead, whilst the gap between Johnny Herbert and Frank Biela is now 2 points. John Field still in charge of the 675s ahead of Ben Devlin despite the drama. Ron Fellows heads the GTS. Andy Pilgrim and Kelly Collins move up to second, but still a strong lead for Sasha Masson and Lucas Law in the GTs. Just 2 rounds remaining on this year's calendar. Firstly, the last 2-hour 45-minute race in Miami before the Petit Le Mans rounds off the season with a 10-hour 1,000-mile marathon race. After a 7-year racing drought, the streets of Miami are to come alive again with a howl of highly tuned engines on a newly built street circuit. Set around the Bayfront Park area of downtown Miami, the 1.5-mile circuit is surrounded by skyscrapers on one side and the waters of the Atlantic on another. Unsurprisingly, Lucas Law claimed the 8th pole of the year for the Alex Job team in the GT class after completing 5 laps in high temperatures on a track that was disintegrating in places. The current championship leaders, Lur and Masson, were followed by teammates Bergmeister and Bernhard in the team's second car.
The asphalt is really bad, you know, in turn 3 and 4, 5, I don't know what it calls. It's like with slicks in the rain, so for that you have to be really, really careful, and I think we're going to have a lot of trouble in that corner in the race.
The Care Racing Pro-Drive Ferrari was back again after taking the GTS win in California, but qualifying was punctuated by incidents, and Thomas Enger was unable to get a clear run and ended the session 4th behind the 2 Corvettes in 2nd and 3rd. Taking the pole, though, was the Conrad Motorsport Saleen. Terry Borchella got the best of the session and set the fastest GTS time by almost half a second from Ron Fellows.
I was surprised. I for sure wanted to be toward the front, and starting on the pole is great. It's going to be hard to pass, and there's going to be a lot of carnage, I would imagine, and just hopefully stay clean and stay out of trouble. And I really think if you don't touch anything, you'll probably be on the podium.
In the prototypes, pole for the lightweight 675 class was set by Claudia Hurtgen, who was a late draft into the Nighthawk team to partner Chad Block and team owner Steve Knight in the Lola MG.
This kind of track, you know, when you make a little mistake or you push too hard, you're directly in the wall. So I think I had a bit luck, I had a good team, and so I'm on pole.
Also finding it difficult on this new circuit, Johnny Herbert and Stefan Johansson in the customer champion Audi, as always trying to close down the gap on the two factory cars ahead of them. At the end of qualifying, they held third place, and that meant an Audi 1-2-3.
It's going to be very, very difficult tomorrow because obviously it's 37 cars, 38 cars, and we're going to lap them within probably 1.5, 2 laps, I reckon, and then the race will begin in earnest because some of the cars in certain places, or should I say 85% of the track, you can't pass the damn thing. So it's going to be very, very hard to slot your way past.
Fighting to close the championship in their favour is the number 2 Audi Sport North America car of Tom Christensen and Dindo Capello. They have both taken the car to 3 victories this year, the last being at Mosport. Initially, they were on pole here, but just lost out.
I'm really sad because I lost the pole position. I lost 1 point. I could really still play for the championship. Now I don't know, we have to wait tomorrow, but I was in the lap of the pole position, was my second last lap. Unfortunately, I got the Lola, the Banana Joe in the last corner, and it cost me a lot. I was 4 tenths down my best lap time, and out of the corner I was already plus 4 tenths, and it's very bad to lose 1 pole in the last corner.
Back-to-back poles now for Emanuele Pirro and Frank Biela, who benefited from the bad luck of the number 2 car. But here, pole doesn't guarantee an easy time, with eyes having to be fixed firmly in front and behind at all times to avoid getting caught up in someone else's accident.
I think there's still a little chance, especially if you race on a circuit like this, because to retire tomorrow because of an accident, there's a very good chance. So me and Emanuele, we really have to grab that chance and do a good race, keep the thing off the wall, and try to finish.
David Brabham found himself 7th on the grid in the Panos, but along with Stefan Johansson, he was lucky to have been able to have a little pleasure before the race weekend began. There was a football match, a visit to an Air Force base, but probably the outing that most people would have been fighting for a place in the queue to do was to realise a dream that many hold and only a few get to fulfil: to play with dolphins at the Miami Seaquarium. This was, in fact, the original location for the television series Flipper that was such a big hit during the 60s and 70s. Such a contrast to the fierce and dangerous type of sport that they were about to compete in.
Well, I have to say today I've fulfilled one of my life's ambitions, really, to swim with dolphins. I mean, they're just a fantastic mammal. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And to be pushed like that and feel the power of the beast behind you is quite incredible. It's very touching.
Being with the dolphins was very much a spiritual experience for Stefan as well, and 2 more grateful men it would have been hard to find.
It's been a dream of mine for a long, long time to be able to do this, and they're just such a gracious animal, and it's just an amazing experience, you know, when they connect with you, you know, and just to feel the animal, everything is just fantastic.
From the most gentle and awe-inspiring creatures, it was back to reality for the drivers, who now had to be prepared to be amongst the motorised sharks on the Miami circuit. Rain fell over downtown Miami overnight and through the morning, making the warm-up session a wet affair. But improvements to the surface of some parts of the circuit overnight has helped to make turns 3 to 6 less of an ice rink. There are still a few damp patches, but generally the track is dry now as the temperature reaches 87 degrees in the air and 107 on the track. It's going to be a long, hard and very hot race. 2 hours and 45 minutes, the race time here, and a lot of that has to be expected to be spent under caution after the practice and qualifying sessions, if they're anything to go by. It's going to be the survival of the fittest, let alone the luckiest. Now this is how they line up then for the grid. Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro taking that front row. Audi's behind them then, and then it's Goossens with the Riley and Scott car that could just be a little bit of a dark horse here. Further back then, the 26 Celine with the GTS pole, and Lucas Law, Sasha Madsen with the GT pole, and of course the Nighthawk Claudia Hurton starting off the race on their pole position. So they're away, the green flag has been given, and it's all into this first turn, and it could just be carnage very easily on this opening lap, but all the drivers will be just trying to keep it steady, trying to keep it neat and stay out of trouble. This is the part of the circuit that's caused so many problems. The lighter patches are concrete when they actually ripped the tarmac up overnight and poured concrete into it, and you can see from the surface it just looks like an ice rink. And when the light is on it, it just looks like glass, and this is where most of the problems have been. Out now towards the back of the circuit, we've still got Frank Biela leading. There's the Celine. Dindo Capello still third, Johnny Herbert fourth, Walter Goossens in the 36. Riley and Scott in fourth place as we come on board the number 8 Cadillac of JJ Leto and Max Anginelli, who started well down the order. Their qualifying wasn't very good at all. Big clouds still overhead, but the temperature's still very hot indeed. And through, I think, almost to pass the car in front, but didn't quite make it. JJ Leto looking for a way past that number 56 Phil Beam of Jeff Bucknam in the Fairy Tale Brownies car. Terry Borchella ahead, and through he goes this time as they come on to the main start-finish straight, and he'll just get through. He does, nips through nicely. And there he is. There's Borchella. There's number 3, Ron Fellows, in second place in the GTS class. Back onto this tricky part of the circuit. Very, very slow indeed. The concrete patches have helped grip into the corner, but they're not anywhere near the braking areas, so have to be very, very tentative. Johnny Herbert doing the opening stint in the 38 car, hanging on to third place. They go round the fountain part of the Bayfront Park here that looks straight out over the harbour. And there is the 36 car, Walter Goossens, currently in fourth place. Out-qualified the Panos and the Cadillacs as well. And there's Bill Orbelain in the 51 car, leading Jan Magnussen in the number 50 car. Then it's number 7, Emanuele Collard in the Cadillac North Star. They, of course, have got this race and the Petit Le Mans before the Cadillacs will race no longer. Such a shame. Locks the wheels there. He goes into the turn, braking so hard indeed. And that's the number 11 Nighthawk now behind the 7 car. So Claudia Hurtgen is in 8th place overall then, and leading the 6-7-5 class lighter category. And a spin there. Bill Orbelain made a little bit of contact with the 51 car, losing ground all the time. Can he get moving? And there's Jeff Altenberg in the 44 Viper. The Dodge Viper GTSR has come to yet another grief. We've seen them in all sorts of incidents this year, some of them quite spectacular, but no problem for the leaders at the moment. Very, very close to those solid concrete walls. Frank Biela leads though, and there is the 25 car. We've got 2 cars in this race in the Conrad Motorsport colours. 1 and 2 though lead. Here's a replay. This is the BMW, gets it sideways and into the wall in the fountain part of the circuit. Carlos de Casida in the M3, and that car looks pretty badly damaged. Certainly we're on a full course yellow now, so will we see people in for early pit stops once the pit lane opens? Driver perfectly okay, so the field will now have to hold line behind the safety car, which is out on the circuit now. And thousands of spectators, as expected, have turned up here in Miami for this first race in a considerable number of years. That's the 25 Celine. Same colours as the 26 one, which of course is the GTS leader. In fact, there was 4 Celines entered in this race. Only 3 of them have actually taken part on board inside the 23 car. Just holding station. Have to wait till everything's cleared away. Mixed feelings amongst the drivers about this circuit. Some are quite sort of enjoying the challenge. Others just not liking it at all. Most believing that it could be good. They need to change it slightly. And meanwhile, a lot of activity in the pit lane. Few cars coming in, but both the Alex Job Porsches have been in now.
Me and Sasha get 10 laps as quick as possible, because on a circuit like this can happen so much, so we don't want to screw up the championship. So I have now my points. Sasha does his 10 laps or whatever he needs to do, and I go back in at the end. So that was pretty much the plan.
Very clever tactics this year. Brilliant drive, great little team, the Alex Job Porsche team, who really tries hard, based in Florida as well, so not too far away from their home base. We're on board. This is our race leader, officially P1. You can see how narrow, how tight it is here as well. Holding on to first place, Johnny Herbert very close behind second place, man, just fighting to get the grip there as they come through the carousel part of this circuit here in Miami. Turns 4 through to 6. And then up through round the back, turn 7, which leads into 8, 9, and then 10, which is around the fountain where they are now. So we go back on board with the race leader, Frank Biela. Short straight between 12 and 13. And more problems this time. It's the 45 Viper that's been in contact, I think, with the Pro Drive 550 Maranello Ferrari of Peter Cox. So Peter Cox, this is at turn 13. Peter Cox losing a lot of time there, and hopefully we can get, well, stalls the car, gets it into gear, takes off now, but that's a handful of time that's gone. Here's a replay then. Peter Cox shunted from the rear, from the side by the Viper, but Peter Cox already having under braking. Here's the GT class, and the leader is the number 23 car, chased hard by the number 22 cars. And, of course, teammates, Sasha Masson inside the 23 car, and Timo Bernhard in the 22 car. So they've both pitted. The leader, in fact, is the number 66, Kevin Buckler. And here's the number 4 Corvette getting caught up behind Ben Devlin in the number 13 Archangel 675 car, and quite a bit of damage to the front of the number 4 car. There's the olive green Ferrari, the number 0 car behind. We go on board and look ahead to the number 4 Corvette. So anxious moments there. Emanuele Naspetti hoping that maybe he can make up a place now if there's problems with that Corvette. So underway again. Race leader, number 1, followed by Guido Capello, number 2, Johnny Herbert. Goossens there in 4th place, Jan Magnussen in the number 50 car. We have in 5th Emanuele Collard in 6th place as well at the moment. As they go out of that, you can see the difference in tarmac when they come out of that section. The grip is completely different. It's very, very smooth. The rest of the circuit is very, very bumpy, and that's caused a lot of problems as well. Good shot as they go round the fountain now, as they come round sort of turn 10, 11 and 12 onto this short straight before they go to turn 13. Quick blast, quick blip of the throttle then before slight kink between 14 and 15, and then the hairpin, or as near to a hairpin as you get here, which is also the entrance to the pit lane there, turn 16, out of 16.8 and along through the checkered flag, which will be unfurled in just about 2 hours' time. Good view of the high-rise blocks. There's the number 7 car. There's JJ Leto, who's caught up a lot of positions from something like 17th place start, and Claudia Hürtgen the 675 leader in the number 11 Nighthawk, Lola MG. One last time out. They had a breakdown at the race before that at Mosport when they were leading the race. But Claudia's third time in the car. She loves it. She feels like she's always driven it, and proving just how fast she is. First, second, third, fourth place, Walter Goossens. The Paynos in fifth place. Hanging on, trying to keep ahead, just trying to keep in contention, hoping that they can pick up some positions. The Paynos team really trying hard. Of course, Jan Magnussen already up one place after that spin from Brian Herter. That pulled him clear. A lot of smoke from the 36 car as Walter Goossens applies the brakes just that little bit too hard. You can see there is absolutely no chance. If you go off this track, you're just into a concrete wall. There's no run-off areas or anything. It's serious damage that's going to be endured by the car. Very strongly built, of course. Safety, very important. Quite a lot of these drivers using the hands restraint system that's going to be mandatory in Formula 1 next year. There's Ron Fellows in the Corvette. The Canadian driver passed Terry Borchella not long ago, as we're seeing now, to take the lead in the class. So Terry Borchella in the Conrad Motorsport Celine down to second place, but Andy Pilgrim was very close behind him. And I think we'll see a similar move as well. Incredible cars these. Yes, there we go. Pilgrim through into second place. Terry Borchella down to fourth place. Third place, with the olive green Ferrari in fourth place. And that is one of the GT class Porsches that's just pulled off. And this is the reason why, because it's got caught from behind. Number 42 getting caught from behind, with Michael Schramm and Leo Hendry coming together there. And this is on board the olive green Ferrari, struggling to get in the right direction now after a spin, but away he goes. As we're on board with him, he gets past one of the GT cars, and this is him trying to get in the right direction and not making a... Oh, look how close those cars were, and here's the Celine that's got to get out of the way very quickly indeed, and now the Ferrari just nips through. So anxious moments for quite a few people there, it would be fair to say. Here is the number 37 car. And John Field has got ahead of the number 11 Nighthawk to lead the 675 class. Sascha Maassen behind him, the GT leader. And into the wall, Michael Neugarten at turn 10. And that 911 looks like it's not going to move. So I think we'll be on the full course yellow. Just caught the back end. So that's got to be moved under full course caution. They'll get that out of the way of everybody. Well, the only chance the drivers get to have some sort of breather whilst they're on the safety car. And this is how we expected. We did expect there to be many incidents. When you've got so many cars on a track like this, it would have been a miracle if we didn't. So Emanuele Pirro still at the front, leading them away, and the Celine, and also the number 2 car into the pits. Number 1's already in there, and it's a driver change. So Frank Biela gets out, Emanuele Pirro is getting in. Number 2 car is in the pits behind them. Fuel going in, no tyres being changed. There's none ready, so the fuel's in. They're just waiting for communication to be plugged in for the driver. They're trying to get Frank off, and Emanuele out, and he does. So he'll be down the order, but effectively holding the lead. The Corvettes are in as well. So Johnny Herbert not stopped, so he is now the race leader, but of course he will have to stop at some point.
I'm very happy. The car was good. The circuit seems to be okay, apart this 2 or 3 corners, very slippery. But it worked well so far. Let's cross fingers for Emanuele.
Well, the safety car, I think, just pulling off the circuit. They'll have to hold position until they go through the start line and get the green flag. And we're away once more. How long is the question, though? Is the race leader, Johnny Herbert. Of course, that will change, as we said, with the pit stops. Claudia Hurtgen, number 11. In the 675 class, saw the Celine. That's one of the other Celines further down the order. The two Audis now have to make up the ground through the traffic. Tom Christensen inside the yellow and silver Audi. Dindo Capello inside the number 2. And Johnny Herbert, you see that Audi just twittering there, struggling for the grip, having to work hard at the steering wheel, but knows that he's got to pull ahead now. Effectively, he's got a clear track ahead of him because of all the traffic backed up behind the safety car. And that is Terry Borchella and Andy Pilgrim having a little bit of a chat.
It was a very exciting session for me. A couple of things happened that made it doubly exciting. I mean, I hit the back of a 675 when he basically, I guess he panicked trying to pass one of the 900s, and I totally didn't expect him to. He just absolutely slammed on the brakes early when he was already inside the 900 with Milka in the car, and I just didn't expect it. I couldn't stop.
Well, Ben Devlin is the man he's talking about, and I think he'll have, well, he has in fact got another side to that. Meanwhile, in the wall is the number 56 car of Brian Willman, and there's problems in the pit lane for Butch Leitzinger, who has had to have a push start after it wouldn't go in the pit lane, but it's gone now and just makes it onto the track before the end of the pit lane, which would have meant a penalty for the team if they'd gone over that line, still in contact with the car. There's the 37 car of Michael Durand, who leads the 675 class now. Johnny Herbert still in the lead of the 675s. Peter Barron and Tony Kester are behind him in the GTs and the Porsche 911 GT3 RSs, which predominantly make up the GT class here. Johnny Herbert just having to hold station behind the safety car yet again, and then a lot of work to do.
The track is about as slick as it was the first session on Friday. So we're sliding around a lot, but it's, you know, it seems to be fine. We're just trying to sort of minimize our mistakes every lap and hang in there. The motor went flat on me just as we were coming to that last caution. Hopefully it's okay.
So Ron Fellows has been in. That means Johnny O'Connell's in the car, and Stefan Johansson is being helped into the 38 Audi now, which of course drops down from its former leading position. Fuel in, tyres are going on now, and out he will go. Spectators on their feet, getting enthralled in this race, and the number 1 Audi just switching there, he's just fighting it all the time just to try and keep it in a straight line, and successfully doing so. And clearing the rest of the traffic is the number 2 Audi. So these two leading the race again now. And we'll see the number 2 Audi close to the back of the number 1, getting past, well, no team orders. But both drivers will be very cautious about it. And certainly, Emanuele Pirro is not going to give it away easy. Through the Bayfront Park area, around the fountain, and back out towards start-finish line to close off another lap. They go. The sun's starting to set. We're sort of heading into early evening territory now in Miami. Still very, very hot indeed. The drivers in the open-top cars, of course, getting a little bit more airflow than those inside the tin tops. Difficult for all concerned. So Tom Christensen has closed up just about as much as he can on the back of the number 1 car without getting into difficulty. A little bit more, I think, that he can close up on as well, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with these two now, whether we'll see a challenge from the number 2 car. And also, of course, how the pit stops will play into this. They'll have to stop once more for fuel, maybe for tyres. But that number 1 Audi is on the same tyres which it started the race on. And they're the same tyres they used in qualifying. All cars restricted on their tyres. There's the number 8 car, Max Angelelli, who is in fact moved up to 3rd place now. So they've been working away, chipping hard, considering they started something like 17th place. Behind the Conrad Celine now, and will pass fairly easily and pretty soon, and he does it on this just short burst of straight, long enough for him to get the power down and for the Celine to move over out of the way. And of course all these drivers very wary at all times of faster cars behind them. And I know we've said it many times throughout the season, but this is the true epitome of sportsmen. These racing drivers just generally all get on so well. They do respect the other classes, and the whole series is just a fabulous one to be associated with, and for the fans as well. And it's the 22 car that's leading the GT race now, 22 ahead of number 23. They're both about to be lapped by the 900s of number 1 and number 2, and there's number 77 that gets out of the way as well, which is one of the 675s, the Phil Beam Nissan. So, some point on the track, the GT lead changed, and they're fighting, of course, for their place. And the Audis making their way through, and the 2 Alex Joe Porsches around about 420 horsepower at about just over 8,000 revs. They are restricted as well. 6-cylinder water-cooled Boxster engines, just over 3,500 cc. There's a Panos coming through to pass the olive green Ferrari, and that's got considerably better as well through the year. The Ferrari had a lot of problems early on in the season, but now they've got it a lot better. As through goes the yellow Corvette looking for a way, and Stephanie Hansen behind that at the moment, looking for pace, and away past Johnny O'Connell. Johnny O'Connell in the GTS class, of course, moves over, lets the champion Audi through. Round the fountain they go, and of course the pit stops even it all out again. And getting back into something like race order once more as before those first pit stops. Good view from the helicopters there. They come round that final turn back out onto the start-finish line once again, and change in the 675 class as well. Claudia Hurtgen is now out of the car.
Yeah, of course, it was a lot of work on the track and also around the track, because 2 cars was just ice and ice, the drivers, so it was really hot outside.
Well, problems at turn 6 for number 13, Brett Osnall in the Archangel car, and not a good day for the Archangel team. Here's a replay then. It was Stephanie Johansson that just caught the back of that car and just got away with it there as well. Other cars trying to pass, so they got that car out of the way anyway. It's still underpowered, but of course we had an incident earlier with Ben Devlin and one of the Corvettes as well, so the Archangel team will be a little bit stressed in the pit lane at the moment. Is our race leader, number 1, and must be getting increasingly difficult to drive that car on these tyres that should have been changed maybe 1 pit stop ago. But if they were that bad, of course, they would have changed them. But, all tactics and strategy here, but at the moment, it's still going pretty well for our race leader, number 1. Number 2, Tom Christensen, not in shot at the moment, and held up by traffic, I think. Doesn't come into view there, so certainly inside that number 1 cockpit, Emanuele Pirro has got his foot down and is trying to pull out as much a lead as possible. Of course, you need to build that up as much as possible. You just never know what is going to happen in this type of racing at any time, or indeed any other racing. There's number 3, Johnny O'Connell, and we pick up our race leader once again, just passing the number 30 car of Clint Field in the Intersport Lower Judd, another one of the 900s, and they've had a lot of problems as well. Not gone all their way today. Back on the streets of Miami, picking up Stefan Johansson in 3rd place now in the customer Audi R8. Nowhere near as advanced or developed as the 2 Audi Sport North America Infineon R8s. They, of course, have all the trick bits. But the champion Audi has had some good podium finishes this year. Not managed to make a winning step on the podium, but carried on regardless anyway. The Reynolds, of course, winning at Sears Point earlier on the year, and a black flag going out, and that black flag has gone out, in fact, for Stefan Johansson, and it's to do with the pit stop earlier, and it's to do with the air hose that was caught by the back of the car. We're going to get a replay of it. Here we go. Stefan Johansson comes out after the pit stop, and the wing catches the air hose. That pulls it away from the fitting, and the car pulls out. Well, that's what he's been penalised for, and well, difficult to see when you're in a car, but been given a penalty for it nonetheless. We're on board with the Cadillac. We're on board the number 8 car, Max Anginelli, the Cadillac North Star. And here is Stefan Johansson, peels off into the pits this time. The Cadillac moves from 4th place up to 3rd. And Johansson in for that stop-and-go penalty. So trundles down along the pit lane. And a few curse words, I'm sure, will be being said inside that cockpit. And a few hand signals at the team. Into the penalty box, stop and go. So he'll be back out on the circuit, but loses a position. We go back on the track. There is the number 11 Nighthawk car. Chad Block inside that now, moving through, picking his way through the traffic. Currently in 2nd place in the 675 class. Behind that number 37 car, Michael Durand, the Intersport Lola MG, which he's closing up on very quickly indeed as they come out onto the start-finish straight. And this is going to be quite a close battle now. Can Chad Block get that Nighthawk car past him? He's very, very quick into the turn. Has to brake, though. And all goes through beautifully. Took a beautiful move there to go through and take the 675 class lead. So they are 8th and 9th overall in the race. But now Chad Block takes the 675 lead ahead of Michael Durand, and pulls away quite quickly indeed as they go through the carousel. And one of the Panos is coming through now, and then that Intersport car looks to be in problems. It's going very slowly indeed. The number 4 Corvette goes through now. John Field looks anxiously over at one of his cars, and it stopped. It stopped indeed. So the end of the road for the 37 car actually hit the wall earlier back, and that's what's caused the problem. So damage to that car. It's the end of the race. Moves off the circuit perfectly okay, of course, is Michael Durand, and that, believe it or not, is the number 30 car that's also stopped at more or less the same time at turn 10. Clint Field out. Meanwhile, in the pits now, David Brabham in for fuel and tyres and rejoins, and we've got the GT cars in as well. Number 22 gets out first, so retains the GT lead. Sasha Masson is still inside the 23 car, waiting for the fuel to go in, and quite a way behind the teammates. Now they can change the tyres. They can't do anything other than change the drivers whilst the fuel is going in. And of course the car's under safety at the moment. So Jörg Bergmeister leads Sasha Masson. And there is the number 1 car. And Stefan Johansson, after that stop and go, is a little bit out of sequence at the moment, in 4th place. Behind him is the number 7 Cadillac. And then we've got the Panos, we've got the Nighthawk, the leader of the 675s. The number 13 Archangel Lola Millington is still circulating. And Andy Pilgrim behind the Paynos there. So everything gets jumbled up once more with the pit stops, but Stefan Johansson losing, of course, that third place because of that stop and go. And, well, these incidents happen. The IMSA, the officials that run these races, are very strict with the rules. That is Franz Conrad in the Saleen, which doesn't look to be too happy. They've had a few problems with the car this afternoon as well, after making a good early pace. And pretty much on his own on the circuit at the moment. That's Johnny O'Connell, leader in the GTS class in the number 3 Corvette. And pretty much on his own at the circuit. That allows him to get some clear track down at the moment. And the number 4 car behind, quite a way behind him, is currently second in the GTS class. There's the number 16 car behind him, Butch Leitzinger, the Dyson Lola. Number 16 car, we're on board though with the GTS leader. A good view of the circuit here. You can see the light is dropping as the sun sets. Not a great distance to go. Quickly up through the gears, on the brakes, down through the gears again now. And that is Chad Block in the number 11 Nighthawk, leader of the 675 class. And at the moment on the way to the second successive win. So the team will have everything crossed in the pit lane that they can pull that off and get another win under the belt. That would be a good pat on the back for this team that works so hard, as indeed all the teams do. They've kept out of trouble all the way through. Good opening drive by Claudia Hurtgen. And Chad Block now passed by David Brabham in the number 50 Paynos. And I think David Brabham, that will make David Brabham something like 5th place overall. So he's been out there consistently driving away and just keeping it clean, hoping to pick up positions. We've already seen incidents ahead how that can make a difference. Stefan Johansson, of course, having that stop-and-go penalty. And there is the Corvette, which has been passed by the number 11 car. And there's number 3, the GTS leader, 22, still leading the GT class. Sasha Masson in the 23 car. And some terrific fights we've seen this season between these two Alex Joe Porsches. Makes it more, you have to admire them even almost more, because they do keep it so clean. And both very respectful that they're both in the same team. And they fight for the team and fight for their individual championships as well. It's quite a bizarre situation, really. So Stefan Johansson being caught by David Brabham now, who's got a heck of a lot of speed and comes through on the inside. And a superb move by David Brabham to steal through and pass Stefan Johansson in the 38 car. And that was for 4th place. So Stefan Johansson has gone down and David Brabham has just pulled himself up one more place. And into the pits, unbelievably now for a stop and go, is Tom Christensen. And that body language tells you an awful lot. And this is for contact with the number 79 car, which happened quite a long time ago in the race. So he's come in now. Surely will drop down a position. Surely this will put him in 3rd place, because the Cadillac of Max Anginelli and JJ Leto, there it is, goes through into 2nd place. So the number 1 Audi in 1st place, that Cadillac is in 2nd, and the number 2 Audi now down to 3rd place. David Brabham in 4th place in the Paynos, partnered of course by Jan Magnussen, and Stefan Johansson, Johnny Herbert in 5th place. So in the late stages of this race, we've suddenly seen a lot of changes, but can Tom Christensen catch the Cadillac through past the 25 Conrad car? Just looking to see if we get some indication of how far behind Tom Christensen is. There is our race leader. And only a few more laps remaining for Emanuele Pirro now, before he takes his 2nd win in a row. And that will help them in their championship aspirations as well. Of course, defending champions this year. Still twitching as they get onto this very smooth glass-like part of the surface. And behind, though, it is still the Cadillac that's in second place. The second Audi Sport North America Infineon R8 is still in third place, but closing at the moment. There he is, Tom Christensen in third place. And of course, that's going to lose them points. That's going to change things slightly in the 900 drivers class. Chad Block about to be passed in the number 11 car by Tom Christensen once he gets a few more corners in the way. Chad Block seeing him, points to the side, lets Tom go through. And Tom wastes no time in getting past. Now he's got one of the Celines ahead of him, which he's got to get past. And the last lap flag is now being shown to our race leader. But can Tom Christensen get any closer to the back of the Cadillac, do anything about second place? It's going to be a very tall order indeed. But on the last lap now is the race leader. There's the Cadillac, there's Tom Christensen. It's not close enough unless the Cadillac makes a mistake. I don't think Tom has got much chance of passing him. Tom has been growing his goatee over the last couple of weeks now. Bit of an impression of the Bee Gees as through goes our race leader. And Emanuele Pirro wraps up the second win. So that makes 2 wins in a row now for Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro, who drove the whole race with the same set of tyres and managed to keep out of trouble. Second place is the highest finish ever for the Cadillac after being promoted by the stop-and-go penalty for the number 2 Audi. The 11 Nighthawk takes a 675 class win, whilst Lucas Law and Sasha Masson did take the GT win after getting past their teammates.
We decided not to change tires, but of course on the yellow we didn't gain anything, so we only stayed in the lead. And then I had to deal with the set of tires which did qualifying the whole race. And at the end, God, I was really struggling. So I wasn't slowing down. I was really trying, and you know, we just made it.
In the GTS class, the number 3 Corvette of Ron Fellows and Johnny O'Connell took the win from teammates Pilgrim and Collins, and that finally put behind him that run of bad luck that they experienced at the last round and put the championship back on track for them again as well.
One thing about the Corvette team, we never quit, and after that fire at Laguna, we were certainly all motivated to get the number 3 car back where we think it belongs, and Ron was awesome, and you know, anytime you have a lead like that, it makes your job easy.
It's also 2 wins in a row now for the Nighthawk team in the 675 class, which has helped to move them up the championship points table.
I couldn't ask for more, so I had my sponsors there, you know, last weekend at Laguna, and that worked out great. But hopefully we can pull through Petit without a mechanical or a mistake, and you know, maybe get the championship for Nighthawk this year.
Audi clinched the manufacturer's title here, whilst the drivers, Tom Christensen is 3 points ahead of Dindo Capello. Then it's 11 points back to Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro after another point down on his teammate. These 4, along with Johnny Herbert, could still win the Drivers' Championship. 11 points between John Field and Ben Devlin in the 675s. Ron Fellows 23 points ahead of Kelly Collins. Lucas Law leads Sasha Masson by 1 point, and then it's another 40 points back to Timo Bernhardt. The 10-hour Petit Le Mans, the final stop for this year's series, is going to be a nail-biting finish.